and president of Haney Enterprises. When he's not doing that, he's the program director for Allegiant Giving. A little bit about Marcus. He was born and raised in Roseville, California. So if you don't know, now you know. The 916 is my backyard where I grew up. So having somebody from my hometown on is outstanding. And he's a brother Marine, so this just gets better. Marcus has always been powered by competition and team camaraderie, which is why he chose to join the best branch in the whole wide world, the United States Marine Corps. He joined in 2009 while serving in his 4-year enlistment as an 0311 or as an infantryman in the beloved Marine Corps, the best job you can have in the Marine Corps, with 1-7. He's been deployed 3 times. As a squad leader, he was responsible for his Marines and served on numerous missions. On June 6, 2012, in the southern part of Afghanistan, coined the bloodiest place on earth, Marcus was shot in the right leg by an enemy combatant. I'm glad that they put it in the notes in such a friendly way, because I was going with a whole nother word to describe the person who shot him. It's probably not good. See, that's the problem with Marines reading about Marines getting shot. We get kind of angry about it. After being evac'd out of the zone, he underwent 5 surgeries and months of intensive recovery at Balboa Naval Hospital down in San Diego in the Wounded Warrior Battalion. Marcus received the Purple Heart for his actions on the battlefield on that day. A little bit about him as a program director and Allegiant Giving that exists solely to drive enrichment for the local community in the Sacramento and Northern California area to help develop future leaders. Their focus is on the advancement of youth sports programs and military veteran services, which we're going to jump into because, as we all heard yesterday, the Little League World Series was canceled for the first time ever. So it's good to see these communities putting youth programs and veterans first. So without further ado, my good friend and United States Marine, Marcus Haney.
Thanks for having me, Eric. Appreciate it.
Man, you got the longest bio in the world, bro.
I wasn't meaning to do that. And then you didn't have to read it all. You're supposed to paraphrase, right?
No, I didn't want to. I got to give you love, man. A Purple Heart is no joke, and you got it in combat. You know, a lot of people, they get Purple Hearts and they won't tell their story, and they're like, oh, man. It's like usually an embarrassing story is usually what I find from some Purple Heart recipients that I talk to. But talking to you and several other Marines I know, getting the Purple Heart in the Corps, especially as an infantry guy, they don't pass that out like candy. You did.
I got the story to share with the audience sometime for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll have you back on. We'll have war stories. We'll have you on a Thursday when it's all veteran hoo-ha and oorah stuff that we go on. We had Mike the Cop on yesterday and, Jason Piccolo, who I think he's done every job that you can do in military and in the civilian world. Like, that's a guy who could make you disappear and make sure you don't even know that you exist. So anyways, so let's talk about it. So you went to the Corps, you served.
Yes, sir.
You came home you got a permanent cool mark to go with you. I love Marine humor, right? You got a permanent scar to remember your service by. And it's not just your oorah tattoo. And you came back and you founded Haney Enterprises. Now, you and your dad do have a show, and you guys are kind of the who's who in the Sacramento area when it comes to helping entrepreneurs. I mean, we'll talk about your dad's podcast later on before you go, because we'll give him some love because he's one of my favorite people to listen to, and he's a motivator. But we're talking about you. So you came home and you started this, and then you started this Allegiant Giving. What's up with coming home and starting putting veterans first? I mean, what kind of drove you to do that?
Well, I'm taking my dad's lead on this thing overall. My parents started the Allegiant Giving Corporation while I was active duty in the Marine Corps back in 2010 while I was overseas to really help veterans get back to normality. You and I both know as veterans of the Marine Corps, it's a challenging time to get back into civilian life and figure out what that next phase of your life is going to be. So I started a company, just ran into quite a few veterans who were looking for that next thing to do in their life. And honestly, I believe that entrepreneurship is the way to help our economy grow, and especially during this challenging time. You mentioned that the Little League World Series got canceled for the first time. this is unprecedented time. So I took it upon myself as a person who likes to lead from the front to take charge of the Allegiant Battle for Veterans program, empowering today's heroes to become tomorrow's leaders. We have a 10,000 square foot space out at McClellan. It's a former military installation where we teach folks in cybersecurity, coding, Salesforce, and we also help them start their own business and become entrepreneurs. And we run a program called Service to CEO, in which we partner with a great organization called the Rosie Network that we're so blessed to have on the team too.
So how is it being, you're talking about tech and getting people into coding and vets in NorCal. When you think of Northern California, you always think of the Bay Area, right? And the heart of the Silicon Valley, the tech mecca. How is it getting training up in Sacramento, which I think is a beautiful community? I know everybody kind of calls us the cow town, but it's not. I think that's because Arco Arena used to be way out in the middle of nowhere. Now the beautiful arena is downtown. But I mean, what's it like getting veterans? How's the support and how's the community rallying behind you with this?
Well, I think we embrace the Cowtown a little bit. We obviously want to change the perspective a little bit, but still at every Sacramento Kings game, folks are out there ringing their cowbells. So I think we embrace that to the fullest. But we have a couple military installations here in Northern California that most folks don't know about, being highly technical. So with our specific skill set that we're training in, we're finding large organizations here in Sacramento, which is the capital of the 6th biggest economy in the world, that are looking to have a new pipeline of individuals who have a skill set in which they can leverage to bring into their organization. Sacramento itself, Lewis Stewart, who's at the City of Sacramento in the Innovation Department, is really looking to help Sacramento become one of those next folks to expand the Bay Area presence in the technological space and really help Sacramento shape itself into something that the rest of the country can look at as a gold standard for that. So we're getting a lot of support from both the city, county, the local military installations, and from the overall population of folks who just want to do right by our nation's heroes.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing what's going on in my hometown. I absolutely love your mission. I love everything that you guys are doing, getting veterans together. I mean, it's contagious, right? We want to get veterans together and help them with transition. We have our correspondent, Matt Kuchera. He's on every Wednesday, has a segment called Pivot Point. We're officially calling it that and launching it again on Wednesday. But we're always talking about vet transition. So I'm going to ask you this question because you are truly in the weeds with this. How can veterans do what you're doing in their community, kind of expand this to a satellite? Maybe this is something you guys are thinking of doing, but if I'm a veteran and I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing, that feeling, right? Where we feel like we're on an island by ourselves, which is
no doubt
the problem. Even as you get into your 40s, you don't know what you're doing. Now, and this includes everybody, you've lost your job, you don't know what to do. How can veterans find help to find folks like you and other organizations?
That's a great question, and I think that's the piece that is missing from the whole puzzle, especially for post 9/11 GIs, right? The VFW and the American Legion exists for the World War II and the Vietnam era veteran, but there's not that community for folks like myself. So I am actively trying to help build out that community, because I solely exist to help eliminate the 22 veterans a day that commit suicide. I think community and that camaraderie piece is the best way to build that infrastructure. And I think that, as a veteran and other veterans looking to find support or find a group within their local community that they can be a part of, it starts by having a conversation with the people that might give you some support. I think it's having a conversation with other veterans and figuring out what it is that the causes that we want to fight for as a younger era generation of veterans that is looking at the workforce in a whole new light. No longer, in my opinion, is the 4-year degree the only way to find yourself into a 6-figure salary. I think if you can find yourself the right skill set and the right way to talk about your military career, you have an opportunity to excel above the folks who are getting out with just only a 4-year degree. And so I think if we can help our veterans walk away from the military with a sense of accomplishment, but also have that path for them to be successful as a nation. I think we should rally around something that builds that community at large and doesn't leave folks feeling like they're out there on an island, as you mentioned, and longing for a friend or some camaraderie. And I think that it's our job as military members, and I love that why you're doing this program here, Eric. It gives everybody an opportunity to share their message and share their voice. And it's my hope that at one point, like we all say in the military, that we can come together for one fight. And I think that that fight needs to be for our next phase of veterans coming out of the military.
I love that. I always like to say that we're all shooting at the same basket, right? We all have that same mission. I mean, it's kind of a phrase I've been using. Some people who aren't basketball fans lost, and they're like, "Oh, it must be a Jordan thing." I'm like, no, it's kind of what makes we're all shooting on the same basket. We all have to work together. And and if people don't want to do that, I'm like, you know what? Don't like that. That's fine. You could take your ass home, go back to bed, and try again. That's the way I look at it when it comes to that. People need to set themselves up right, and it's good that you guys you're putting yourselves in the fight and making sure folks know that they can come to you. So before you go, real fast, I think your dad's show is like one of the best for entrepreneurs out there. The style, the guests that he gets, truly laid back. Guys wearing flip-flops and shorts like half the time he's doing it. So kind of pump that real fast, and then we'll come back to you, and then we'll close out. We can get you to talk about how to find you. But let's talk about the amazing show that you guys do, because you're both part of it. So.
Yeah, so my dad runs a show called the Haney Show up here in Sacramento, where he helps entrepreneurs become entrepreneurs. We have an investment portfolio. We have CPAs on staff that can help folks get through this PPP time and need to get some of that capital for themselves. We're doing 4:30 Haney Biz Huddle shows where we're bringing on amazing guests like Rachel you had on earlier, who has a full understanding of the ways that the government is utilizing these small business programs. And we're just here to try to get folks through this hard time, because I think, just like the military and anything else, if you can lead from the front and you look to the left and your right and you find that you have somebody standing there by your side, that this journey isn't so tough. And, we all know that entrepreneurship is, it's a full contact sport. And if we can put ourselves out there and help people, take a hit left and right, but know that they have somebody that they have always by their side, and that's where we come into play.
Sure, I love it. So before we go, tell folks how they can get a hold of you if you're in the 916 or the Sac area, or even outside. Maybe they're outside the nation. They just want to chat with you guys and see what they're doing, maybe come up with some idea. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I say you can email me directly, which I'm sure you can share, or go to allegiantgiving.org. That's our nonprofit organization website, in which we are putting all the news and notes about what we're doing with Allegiant. We're actually revamping our website, so bear with us. But at the same time, you can also just come visit us over here at Granite Drive in Rockland. We have the Haney Biz Allegiant Giving Center, where you come in and chat with anybody about your business needs, or if you just want somebody to talk to about what it's like to become an entrepreneur. If you're realizing that working for somebody is not your gig anymore, and you want to try out something new and maybe put your foot on the pedal a little bit and really help yourself succeed overall, then we'd love to help you get to that point.
Wow. Well, Marcus, I appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Haney. Thank you, bud, for coming on the show. We need to get you back on. You and your organization are so inspiring. It's great to see people stepping up and taking care of our youth sports programs and our veterans, America's heroes, for damn sure. So thanks, bud. Semper Fi, and have yourself a great weekend.
Always by your side, Eric.